Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the official ARK community. This is Fortunate coming at you. It is November 3rd, Thursday. We are one day away from the private sales start date, and we are all very thrilled to be releasing that to you. And as investors ourselves, we are very thrilled to be seeing it come alive. After all this anticipation, I'll go ahead and hand over the floor to Mr. Atlas.
Thank you, Fortunate, for that wonderful introduction. And I'd like to welcome all of you for coming here this evening and being with us. My name is Atlas, coming to you from always warm, always sunny ARK. We are very excited to announce the contract for our private sale is live as of this evening and ready for all of you to interact with it starting tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. UTC. For those of you folks that have invested with us in our phase one, we have already done quite some time ago a form that you were able to fill out and secure your spot. Primarily the folks that didn't get a return on investment. We want to make sure that everyone that's invested here with us has an opportunity to really get a head start in a great position, because it's important that all of the investors have an important and opportunity to really be looked after and not left behind. I always see that there's a lot of projects that, they have their trials and tribulations, and it's a part of investing. And we always encourage all investors to do it in a responsible manner and never invest what you can't afford to lose. Crypto is a very risky asset, especially when, you're coming in looking for a lot of X's. And we've seen that the market has definitely changed. It happened to us on phase one. We launched on Chronos, and we had an incredible drop from 53 cents when we launched down to 9 cents. And the rest of the crypto assets and currencies followed in suit shortly thereafter. So, we've been able to get through that. We've proven to our community that we're great folks that are very determined. We don't give up, and we've grown our team to really be quite fantastic. The folks that we've been able to recruit and work with us nonstop, really since March, have put together a fantastic, really, I think, revolutionary product here with some contracts that are very innovative, written from scratch. And I think they're going to have an impact and give us sustainability. We're going to go ahead and open the floor up to Mr. Brett Norden, who really is an engineer that took the time to look at a lot of the other projects and what they did successfully, what they were able to improve to bring stability on a long-term basis, and also learn from some of the mishaps and mistakes that can generally happen. Things can break. There could be, we've seen a lot of, in the past year, we've seen a lot of flash loans and different situations that, as they've happened, we've been able to learn from it. And we've been able to make sure that the security on the solidity side of the contracts prevents things like that from happening. So Mr. Brett Norden, if you can come step up and tell us a little bit about the journey that you've taken and the work you've done and a bit of how the system differs and has been improved by you.
Thanks, Atlas. Appreciate it. And hello to everyone. I think I've seen quite a few of you today asking great questions, a lot of educated investors in different groups, finding out about ARK and, going through the white paper and dissecting it and getting a lot of questions in their different chat groups. And I've been trying to get to as many of them as I can. I apologize if I didn't get to yours, but if you do have questions, please drop them in the Telegram group here, or feel free to raise your hand and ask those questions live tonight. So yeah, as a kind of a general overview, I've been an investor in Drip a little over a year now, and several other daily ROI dApps, Elephant, Stake, Furio. And so we've seen and experienced a lot with those applications, and they were a great starting point for what we were trying to do. I think we took a pretty good step back and quite a bit of time looking at the pluses and minuses of each one, and they all have their great positives. And we've seen, all of those that I've mentioned are still around today in some way, shape, or form. Some of them had a bumpier road than others, which It's just kind of the way of the world in crypto right now, and we're going through kind of a DeFi winter. So there's something to be learned and something positive that I could, take from each one of those. And we set off to build sort of a super daily ROI dApp, if you will, with some different philosophies that we learned along the way. And we have some great advisors as well that have helped steer this whole process and really give us some great guardrails, if you want to call them that. I call them goalposts, guardrails. We know that a lot of extreme behavior in these type of dApps is bad, and we want to be able to clearly define what we would like to see from our investor base. So the behaviors that they take on a daily basis, how they interact with the protocol, whether that's compounding, withdrawing, airdropping, team building. We've kind of incorporated all those different mechanics into the sustainability of the daily ROI dApp. And I think what we've come up with is different. It's incrementally innovative, I think, in some ways. Some people are comparing us to Ooze and Furio and Drip and all these different dApps. But I think, as Atlas mentioned, it's truly a ground up build. We've looked at other contracts and the efficiency at which our code was written, the potentially lower gas fees that we can see from that, and then just the understandability of the code. I think everyone will be impressed with. So the code, some of the unique mechanics, I'll kind of just give a real high level overview of those. Some of you are familiar with Drip. They have a calculation called the net deposit value, or NDV. And we look at it a little bit differently. We look at that as basically liquidity into the system versus liquidity out. So it's how much you're depositing versus how much you're withdrawing, and compounding and airdropping and some of those other things that are accounted for by some of the other protocols. We don't account for those in that they don't make a positive impact on the NDV, which is a little different. Ours is more, as I mentioned, what kind of liquidity are you bringing into the system versus how much are you bringing out? And if that's a negative value, then we throttle or we reduce the daily ROI from 2% per day, which is extremely high, to 1% per day. So that's one of the mechanisms we have in place for slowing things down so that we don't drain the system or put stress on the system from wallets that are not participating from a liquidity standpoint. The other mechanic that we have is it's a completely organic thing that we developed called the CWR, which is a compound withdrawal ratio. And that looks at the behavior of each investor on a time basis. So how much time are they compounding versus how much time are they withdrawing? And then we have some limits that keep them into a more balanced compound and withdraw strategy. So what we've learned is that we don't necessarily want to overclaim, which is just draining on the system, especially at a high daily ROI. And we don't want someone to over compound either, so that it's pushing all of the withdrawing to the tail end of the wallet lifecycle. So what happens in a lot of the daily ROI dApps is people are hyper compounding, pushing it all of it to the end of the wallet, and then all they're doing is withdrawing at the end, or claiming is what most of them call it. And that puts a lot of stress on the system. And so we've seen safeguards come in place with some of the other protocols because of that. We've seen kind of some issues dealing with liquidity. Obviously, that can affect the price chart significantly, especially if you have large groups that come into the protocol and they onboard hundreds of new wallets, and then all of those wallets are just compounding to max payout, and then a lot of them are hitting in that max payout mode at the same time. And so we understand the stress mechanics on the liquidity pools. And Atlas mentioned the liquidity controller that we're developing in-house. That's going to help set a price range and maintain a price range as long as our liquidity can support that. So we've really done our homework in trying to protect that liquidity by the mechanics that we have in place to take a lot of the stress off of that liquidity controller and be able to sustain that price range longer. So that's kind of the highlights, Atlas. If you had anything else to add, I can probably embellish on it.
Thank you. A top-down view of really how everything is put together and how we got here, which has been a fantastic journey. Is there anybody that would like to ask the first question of this evening? We'd love to hear from you guys.
I have a question, if I may.
Yes, go right ahead. Good evening.
Hi there. Thanks for being here, putting this together. I just had a quick question. I guess I just had a chance to read the white paper. How does the NDV interact with the CWR? Like, if, for example,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just going to say they're two completely separate calculations, but I will say that if you are following a balanced CWR strategy, then it obviously will impact your NDV in that you are withdrawing, which is why we have the NFT, which will increase your CWR level so that you don't have to withdraw as often and you can stay at a positive NDV longer and stay at that 2% longer. So yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off there.
No, thanks for addressing that. Oh, sorry, to introduce myself, I'm the Crypto Doc. I'm been in Drip for a long time, and Fury and all the other ROI dApps. So I think naturally, as and also owner of a lounge that does AMAs and things like that. So one of the members brought up ARK, and so thanks for doing this. I'm just kind of learning about it now. And definitely interested to hear and be hearing about people who've also been in different ROI dApps and kind of their thinking in terms of what would be trying to make the most optimal one. So I appreciate what you're doing. I guess my question with the NDV and the CWR is like, I was looking at the NDV and I apologize, it just may be my ignorance and may be just because I don't understand how it works, but it sounds like, if you're not building a team, your principal amount that you deposit is kind of like one of the main contributors of the NDV. So, if you're doing, like, if you're compounding and withdrawing, at a certain point, you're going to ROI, right? You're going to get like the same amount of your principal back. And it sounds like as soon as you ROI, your daily percent will drop. Is that correct? Or is the compounding increasing technically your principal amount?
Yes, the compounding will increase your principal balance, which will then increase your max payout. As far as your ROI schedule, like when would you get your initial investment back? That would depend on a lot of different variables. One thing we will have here shortly is a calculator published that Kelly Snook did. If you're in the Drip circles, you probably know her name. She's one of our advisors. And so you could probably play with those scenarios to sort of see where that threshold is for like an idle wallet where there's like no referrals, no fresh deposits. What I will say is that if you're just following a 1-to-1, so a very balanced conservative schedule, you would drop from 2% to 1% in about 2.5 months. So if you were just claiming one day, compounding the next, withdrawing one day, compounding the next, and back and forth, then you would drop from 2% down to 1% after about 2.5 months. But you will have in about that 2.5 months time around doubled your bag from your initial deposit. So that 2% really does a lot to accelerate smaller wallets and get them to the point where there is a significant passive income coming in, even if you didn't make a large deposit or doing team building or whatever else. So the 2% is really an opportunity for people to get used to the system, get educated, potentially look at maybe building a team, or if they're not into that, maybe they can make some fresh deposits along the way if they're busy working and they have fresh capital to put back in that, and to get and grow that principal balance to the point where they could start taking profits and building a reasonable income on a daily basis. So that's sort of the goal of it. But we understand the name of the game in these daily ROI dApps is we've got to have liquidity coming into the system, or else at some point there's going to be an issue with paying out that liquidity to those investors that are withdrawing on a consistent basis and exiting or getting to a max payout level. So that's the way we've designed this. So it does throttle down, and it does incentivize that fresh capital to come in, which is necessary. There are some other sustainability things that we have. I'm not sure how much we're going to go in that today with the external investments and some things that we're going to be doing with our treasury, but we will have some other sustainability and liquidity opportunities on the roadmap to be able to sustain that liquidity controller and maintain our price range as long as possible. So those are some other things that we put in addition to the mechanics, to make sure that we can survive some bumpy roads, maybe survive some stress on the liquidity, maybe a lot of wallets exiting the system at the same time, and then also bringing out new use cases and things along the way as part of our roadmap for locking up additional ARK and taking it off of wallets to sustain that price and maintain the liquidity of the system.
Thanks, Brett, for answering that. Just so kind of, if I could summarize what you kind of were sharing, it sounds like you've taken your gathered experience as a team in terms of these different ROI apps, and then you've kind of implemented a system within the ROI DApp that you think that will ultimately, I guess, preserve the longevity, and then you're rewarding people who are working within that behavioral system, and which you've determined as increasing the longevity of the ROI DApp. Is that correct?
Yes, that's perfectly said. Thank you. I can just use your recording the next time.
No. I appreciate it. I just want to make sure I understand, before I invest.
Yeah.
So it sounds like,
hey guys.
Oh, sorry.
Don't worry. I was just about to say that is exactly the way I coded it.
Oh, great. And I also don't want to take time from other people. If someone else has a question, I just want to clarify some things. So it sounds like there's two factors that can, ultimately influence your daily percentage, right? It sounds like there's the NDV, which can drop you from 2% to 1%. And then there's the CWR, which can drop you from 1% to 0.5%. Is that correct? It's like two factors here that could potentially influence your daily percentage.
Right. So if you're hyperclaiming, that would drop your CWR down below that 0.75 level, and then you would drop to a 0.5% per day reward level. So that's correct. And the reason, there's some obvious reasons for just draining the protocol in general if you're claiming too much, but also if let's say that there's a potential manipulation of the system. If I'm providing 2% for someone who's claiming, they could just open new wallets, claim 2% out, and make an ROI, and then just open a new wallet and dump those ARK into a new wallet and just keep doing the 2% over and over and over again. So that's really that threshold we wanted to make sure that people weren't exploiting, if you want to use that word, or manipulating the system to be able to just take advantage of the 2% without playing the rest of the game, if that makes sense.
No, great. I think that's a great idea. I'd be interested to see kind of how it plays out. And I think there's kind of like gamification of it, which is also very interesting, which I enjoy. May I ask you a little bit about I have some other questions here. First is the external revenue. I think that's very interesting, and I think something that we see these other ROI dApps doing. What are your, I don't know if you can speak to that, if there's a strategic reason why you're keeping that close to the chest. But yeah, can you speak to some of the plans about the external revenue and how you plan to bring in more revenue to the ROI dApp?
Sure. Yeah. Maybe Atlas, would you want to touch on some of those points?
Yes. Thank you so much. And great question. Look, we believe that it is important to not just rely on new investors coming every day, which is absolutely an essential part. And really the reason that even when, we launched our phase 1, we did, I believe, 67 podcasts in 69 days, nonstop, Mother's Day, Saturday, Sunday. We believe that you can't take your foot off of the gas. You have to keep pushing, going out there, doing AMAs. And mainly the whole purpose of our initiative is to educate. These are complex systems, they're risky, and investors need to really understand all the variables so they could manage the investment correctly, especially when, you can overclaim and then, lose your 2%. So that's an important factor, but we also believe that we can bring our experiences, our connections in the real world with our backgrounds and get into real world arbitrage opportunities. There's bond trading that, is happening between banks that we have access to, that we really understand can bring back, through those investments, some great liquidity that we can share with our investors. There's also plans that we have here with our own version of a liquidity controller that we can, offer to other, new projects or projects that are already out there and established that are looking to bring price control, as well as a cross-chain, platform that we would use to go into other blockchains with our contracts. And that those two services, right? DeFi as a service, we could call it. It's something that we believe that we can really, go out there, market, bring also revenue to our liquidity, as well as the NFT holders that are involved in the project. So we believe a combination of that is important. The real world investments. Also, we have a couple of fantastic ROI projects that we don't want to announce yet, that we want to put some of our liquidity over there. There's some really exciting that doesn't have permanent loss, as we want to go ahead and also support. And when we see projects that are coming up, we want to be able to support them as well. So a combination is important, and we just don't want to, stick to the traditional, bring more, users and investors, and make sure that we have different avenues of creating that stable income. Because ideally, what we'd like to do in a project like this is to have, enough funds to pay everyone out what we owe them, to say 10 times. That would be an absolutely holy grail situation for us, right? So we are going to, expand on also what I've told you about, and we are going to be bring it up to the vote with our DAO system as that gets implemented. We are going to be very transparent and show our investors what we want to do, and there's going to be absolutely no
All right, it appears that Mr. Atlas has lost some signal. We'll give him a couple seconds to come back.
Sorry, guys. I'm back here. My apologies. What was the last thing that I said? Fortunate? Can you hear me?
I was tuning into the kiddos. Sorry, I missed it.
You're talking about the DAO.
You're talking about the DAO vote.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, guys. It was actually I was still connected, but my mute button activated. So yeah, we're going to be very transparent. We're going to allow the investors that are part of the DAO to vote and give us their opinion as to the opportunities that we put forth in front of them, especially as we cross on over into the opportunities where we're investing into other protocols and into real world investment opportunities.
Thanks. Any thoughts about implementing, it sounds like you have price control mechanisms kind of through like game theory and like, those kind of things and the limits that you've set or guardrails that Brett was talking about. Any thoughts of implementing like a liquid management service or system like someone like Furio has done?
Well, yeah, that's exactly what we are developing here in-house. And we want to go out and offer that to other projects. So I explained there's two. There's a component of us, with our internal in-house liquidity controller offering to other projects, as well as when we do our cross-chain of our contracts, we want to also offer that as a service to other projects and, take a very small commission off of the transactions that are happening on those other projects and bring that back to our community.
Great. Sorry, one last question.
Go ahead. This is what we're here to do, and they're fantastic questions that you're asking.
Any thought is the I guess the DApp and the website, those are not up yet, right? Like I can't seem to access them. So is that going to be up in the future?
Yes, that is correct. We are still fine tuning some of the aspects. Really bring the design in exactly how we want it into the front end, the whole interface. So that's going to be coming out pretty soon. It's been quite a lot of work. as we wanted to really make sure that we got the private sale contracts and everything, which are live. And by the way, Mr. Green Crypto is here with us. I'll introduce him in a little bit, but he's our Solidity dev. So that's going to be, I think, in the next 4 to 48 hours. And yeah, you'll be able to ask him some questions. We're very fortunate to have met him, because the man is absolutely brilliant. I've seen him take 900 lines of code and see, okay, that's how they do it. All right, well, I can do it. And he'll whip it up in 73, 74 lines. It's intense. It's really beautiful.
Did I hear code?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. If you have a coding question, Doc, go right ahead. The man with the plan is here with us.
Yeah.
No, I'll be honest. I'm not well versed in codes and things like that. But I have heard of you, Mr. Green Crypto.
Nice.
Told me
I
about
love when
from
people.
Vault Finance. He was talking about you. So your reputation precedes you.
That's nice. People that I don't even remember talk about me. That's nice to hear. Well, thing is, I don't have a very good memory when it comes to names or people. It's or even projects. Like sometimes people ask me like, what code have you written so far? And I'm like, gotta think, because I'm pretty sure I've written at least like 100, 150 contracts so far. And yeah, the thing is, I've gotten better and better over time, and I'd say that ARK will be my masterpiece. It's such a
Wow.
beautiful code. It's
just take my
like
money now.
yeah, and you gotta understand, like when I got approached by the guys, they ask you like, can you just, like, yeah, it's basically drip, just fork it and adapt it a bit. And I was like, yeah, but the thing is, I read the code of drip, like all those things, and I was reading through it, and I didn't really understand their code because it was so complicated. And I just decided, you know what? Let us do it the other way around. You explain to me exactly what you want the contract to do, and then I'm gonna start with basically with an empty code, just with the IBP20, like all those interfaces. And I was like, all right, now if this, then that, if this, then that. And I wrote the whole code from scratch. Like every single of those contracts that will be involved are written completely fresh for ARK, and it's my finest work so far. So yeah, it's something I'm really gonna look forward to. And like funny enough, those strategies that I've just recently read on the white paper that Kelly Snook came up with, I read through them and I was like, "Who? I did not realize that because the code itself, like the set of rules that apply, they're not actually that complicated, but the interaction between them and strategies to maximize yield or to maximize for short-term or long-term gains or whatever. I didn't even realize that I, the simple thing that I built evolves into such a like a magnificent construct of just strategies and ideas and everything. It's just beautiful to see how that all comes together. It's like a game
Since
of
I have you,
life. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, since I have you here, Mr. Green Crypto, you know, ROI DApps. I think one of the ones like Cairo Finance, right? They were doing very well, and then I think their contract, someone found a backdoor or something, and they were able to drain it. Or how do you like, how have you made your contract? Like, how do you go about making sure that there isn't any backdoors, any ways that the contract could be compromised?
I
Besides
try.
auditing,
Well,
obviously,
yeah.
but
The thing is, I used to do this as well as a hobby, finding backdoors in other contracts, and like I used to like be proud of my code that could just mint legendary NFTs and such. And then like once I came up with that, I then figured out a way how to write a contract that I could not exploit. Same with anti-snipe. I mean, anti-snipe. How can you do an anti-snipe mechanic that works? And the only way you can do it is by building it, trying to snipe it yourself, and just improving it until you can't get in yourself. And that's basically the same way I go about all my code. I actually, even if I'm personally not capable of doing an exploit, I always just consider myself, or I just imagine a developer, a person that is omnipotent, like that can do everything when it comes to code. And then I just assume that that person will try something, or like, for example, if this happens, and I would do, I don't know, like if someone would try to get around somewhere, and I always put in all those checks to make sure that you cannot get around anything, even if you had unlimited capabilities or funds, or like even if you were to control some of the validators. That's also a thing. Like sometimes you can just fake blocks or whatever. I heard about it that it's supposed to be possible. I wouldn't have the potential myself to actually do that, but I heard that something like that is possible. And yeah, I just always make sure that it still isn't, even if someone could do that.
Well, thank you, Mr. Green Crypto.
It's just like I
Oh, sorry.
always
So my last,
imagine everything that's possible and make sure that none of that can actually hurt the project.
great. That's I imagine you're such a great developer. Thank you for doing that. I guess Atlas. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No,
I guess my last question.
go ahead.
Oh,
You
go ahead.
you go ahead. I actually have to order some McDonald's right here, so I'm continuing to listen, but I'm gonna mute myself for a bit.
All right. I guess my question was: any plans to docs or KYC for the team?
Yes, as you can see, for example, Brett Norton has his picture and his full name as well. I've been around the scene for some time. I've put my face in my camera. You're going to be seeing our pictures in the profiles as well. I mean, we're not going to give you our social security numbers and IDs and home addresses, although quite a lot of people have been to my home in the crypto space. One as recently as about 2 weeks that came from Germany with his wife and children. Great friend and investor here. I've been able to meet fantastic people. So yeah, we're definitely very open, and people know who we are. So I don't think that's going to be any issue whatsoever as far as us being doxxed.
Well, thank you so much for answering all my questions. I really appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time. I know that you probably have, a lot of, marketing plans and AMA plans. But if you need help or something, let me know. I know a lot of drip maxis in Wales, so I'm sure they would love to get involved.
Please send me a DM, and I'd love to get in contact with you and see if we can maybe do an AMA there. We have a full month here of the private sale, and 1 week of private sale, 3 weeks of public pre-sales before our launch on December 2nd. And really, a lot of the time that we're going to be spending is here educating our new investors, and also going out and going to these AMAs, meeting new folks, and trying to win some hearts and minds and investors that want to come and grow with us on a long-term basis. So definitely would appreciate to work with you and see what we can put together. Thank you for being here, Mr. Doc.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Go ahead, Eddie. I know you've been wanting to speak. Welcome.
Yeah,
welcome
the Crypto Doc asks a lot of great questions for sure. But yeah, I've been hearing about you guys and my TG group, so happy to be here. I really like the idea of the LCS. You called it your liquidity containment system. I'm on the conservative side of all those degens, so I think that's a great tool. And I really like the idea of the max fresh deposit. I did read the white paper before speaking. But my question is, in your development plan, or pro forma, as I call it in the business world, do you have an LCS range forecasted for the launch?
We are actually calculating. It's not set in stone, and we're looking at all the variables. We're also bringing other experts and quants to the table as we want to make a system that's really innovative, robust, secure, and that's going to be able to handle, not just the volume and growth that we're seeing in the ROI DApp space, as we really want to branch on over through our mobile app and go to the regular life, the person that's a truck driver, a nurse, the folks that have never really been in DeFi or downloaded MetaMask, and give them an easy tool that they could use. So, we're anticipating a lot of growth. We are anticipating a lot of volume, and the range is something that's going to be really important, especially for those folks that are here before launch, who are looking at the security and the safety of having a range, but at the same time want to be able to maximize that upfront investment. And it is an art form. I believe it's something that you have to be very careful with. We don't want to put the brakes on too fast, too soon, too quick, too low. But we also got to keep in mind, realistically how that's going to affect the whole mechanism, the liquidity on a long-term basis, 6 months, a year, 2 years down the line. And we're also being very, I think, careful with the IP, the information, as we're going to make sure that we get to exactly the position that we want to be and what our plans are, without folks, getting involved and maybe trying to play with those plans, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great roadmap, and I think playing on your words, getting the truck drivers, the nurses, the everyday folks like I was, 2 years ago, when you walk through that, and then explain the maximum fresh, deposit with fresh capital, to where you can, somewhat level the playing field on day one. I think this is great. But great job, guys. I'll leave it with you.
Thank you, Mr. Reddy. You're from Alabama. I see it on your.
I'm from Alabama, and I'm from CFF, his TG group.
Oh, great.
And Chris Sailing, great guys.
Oh, man, I spent my grade school years in Mobile, Alabama, in Gulf Shores. So I had a really, really strong country accent. And my first kiss was with a woman, well, it was a girl back then, but she's a woman now, I'm sure. I'm 46. We've grown a lot. But her name was Donnelly Nelson. I mean, that's as country as you can get.
There's a lot of double name women in Alabama, that's for sure.
But great place, man. Definitely miss it. And, the whole culture of the South is something that I lived in New York. I lived in Miami. It's something that you would say hi to people and they'd say hi back. And you could go out with your bike and play games outside, till the sun went down, and even after that, and you didn't have to worry too much back then. We're talking a long time ago, but I just love the culture, the food. It's a fantastic place. And pleasure to meet you, man.
Thank you.
Roll
You too. Roll Tide.
Thank you for being here. Who would like to join us and ask another question this evening?
Good evening, team. This is Sailing. If I could go next, I'd like to. Hope everybody's having a great evening, and I appreciate all the great info you all have given out for days now. I've been able to log in and get more and more info every night, and fortunate S23 Brett, Brad Ass. I mean, you guys are amazing. So Atlas, you put together a phenomenal team. I would like to think a little while about the liquidity pool, and so if we could gear into that. And some of the thoughts I had were timing. Is that soon or is that down the road? Taxes going in and out, and then what would possibly feed that? Where would that? What would feed that? So those are the types of things, and anything else that you have, like syndicate reward levels, that you could add to the conversation around the liquidity pool. Thank you for your time.
Welcome back. And I'll let, when it comes to the technical parts of the system, Brett's the engineer and the man that I believe is best suited to answer your questions. Brett, do you want to go right ahead?
Yeah.
Sorry, if I may just cut in real quick, because I gotta leave in a bit because I gotta eat. But one thing that you mentioned here about liquidity, I just wanted to add like nothing to do like where it comes from or whatever, but it's one of the innovations I put into the ARK contract is liquidity gets added the easiest, cheapest, fastest, and most optimized way possible ever. Like we don't have to sell tokens to add them to liquidity. It just happens. Like I can go into details later, like at a different point in time, but yeah, the way we add liquidity is revolutionary. Just wanted to, add that to it.
Thank you for that, Mr. Green.
Don't worry. Now, Brett, you go ahead with
Okay.
everything that's,
Thank you. Yeah, so the different mechanisms we have, obviously we're going to do this this launch and the pre-sale, and all of that liquidity is going to go into our swap contract, which is maybe what Mr. Green was alluding to. But that liquidity pool is our primary liquidity pool. All of the tokens, all of the ARK tokens that are sold during the pre-sale will be deposited into the ARK vault, and that is the tax vault, essentially, if you want to call it that, from the drip days. But that is what is used to pay out people who are withdrawing from the vault system. So as you get your daily ROI, you have the opportunity to take those available rewards and either compound them or withdraw them. So if you withdraw them, that comes out of the ARK vault or the tax vault, and those go then into your wallet. And then when you sell them on our native swap page, that's when the liquidity comes into play. That's when we convert those ARK tokens into BUSD. And so that's the primary mechanism that happens between the liquidity pool and the tax vault. So does that kind of give you an idea of the structure of that system?
Yes, and so that would be the primary income for the ARK Foundation, the liquidity pool.
Okay, so the ARK Foundation is a little different. So the ARK Foundation is much. Are you familiar with like a drip reservoir or the fur pool or anything like that?
Yes, and I'm sorry, but I guess when I was saying liquidity pool, that's what I was. This question is
Oh, okay.
specifically about the ARK Foundation and how
Yeah.
all that will work.
So the ARK Foundation, what we did is we kind of took a twist on some of the other liquidity pools you might be familiar with, and we added a utility to it. So it's a way to provide a liquid stake. So you're putting in BUSD or ARK, and then you're putting into the liquidity pool where then you would receive a BUSD reward based on your ownership level in the pool. And that reward is paid out much like the reservoir or the fur pool or some of the other dApps that you're familiar with. But what we did was we also allow that that stake, the value of that liquidity pool token that you are holding, to be able to qualify you for referral rewards. And so the value of that stake then qualifies you for various levels in your downlines, if you want to call them that, or in your team. So then you would be available, or you could qualify, depending on how much you're holding, for level 1, 2, 3, 4, and on down. So what we did is kind of put a little twist on the referral reward levels and the way that you qualify for those as an incentive to get people to put liquidity into the foundation.
Got it. And then to put liquidity in and to take out, are you looking at a tax, and also are you looking at a certain time of lock?
There's no lock, and there is a tax in, tax out 10%, and that goes to pay the stakers in the. It feeds into a rewards pool. So basically, it's a tax-based rewards pool, and then that gets paid out daily on a percentage basis. And I don't have the percentages off the top of my head, but they're in the white paper as well.
Yeah, you got it. All right, well, great. I think that is a wonderful addition to the ARK Vault, and probably working the two with each other would be a great combination. I'm excited about it, and I thank you all again for the time you've invested into us. Thank you.
Yeah, great questions. Thanks. Take care.
Fantastic. Great question, Sale. I'm glad to have you back here. And we encourage you guys to continue to come back and ask questions as you're going through the white paper and you're analyzing the investment and how we're different, because we are absolutely different, and we have our own take on how we put everything together. And I've been seeing kind of a trend of folks a bit concerned about how you can drop your CEWR down from the 2% to the 1%. And that's really important, because we want to make sure that, when we launch and we're out the gate, we don't have to run into a situation, guys, that we're realizing that, a 2% and not balancing things out and letting others, according to their actions, really, have a position where they're draining more than the folks that are looking longer term, and then having to change the parameters, after we've started. We definitely don't want to do that. I don't like playing any type of game or getting into any type of investment or life insurance policy or any type of contract, whether it's a lease on a home, a business, and then have the rules and the expectations or the interest rates and things changed on us. So I just want to, really convey that to you guys, that we're taking the precautions up front and making sure that everything's been really well thought of, nothing's been neglected, and really calculating everything for the long-term sustainability. And I think as folks really understand that, I think they're going to find a more comfortable situation and have more confidence in the sustainability long-term of the whole project, right? Is there somebody that would like to come and ask another question this evening? We'd love to hear from you guys. All right. Is there any questions perhaps on the mechanism for tomorrow's private sale launch? I don't think a lot of the folks in here might have a whitelist spot on that, but maybe you're curious or you have any questions, or maybe there's somebody in here that is on that private sale part and has some questions about it. We really haven't had that yet. Go ahead, Mr. Brett.
No, I was just going to say there is been a couple of questions in the chat, and Rooster did actually ask you to cover that. So if you could, that'd be helpful. I'm sure he'll be listening at some point, or I can reply to him once it's answered.
Okay, hold on a second. I'm trying to search through it. Do you have those questions handy? Brad, do you see them?
Just asked. Give me 1 second.
If you read out to me, it might be.
Can you please go over how and where we are buying the ARK tomorrow on this call? So basically, he's wants to know the process of getting his NFT, because he is a whitelist holder.
Fantastic. Is he still here with us?
No, he actually isn't. He's not in the chat.
We'll go over it for the recording, and then we can actually write him back on the chat, so he's well informed. Yeah, at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. UTC, we're going to come here and we're going to give you the URL where you can go inside, and he's going to be able to take BUSD. We also have the opportunity, a drop-down menu that we're going to go ahead and share with you guys of other tokens on BSC that you're going to be able to come into the D app and purchase the NFT. It's going to be a BUSD value. Generally, it is from $250 to $1,000 BUSD value. And when you do the contribution into the app, it's going to give the investor an NFT that's going to say exactly what the contribution that they did with a BUSD value. So let's say it's $500 that they deposit, it'll show $500. And that NFT is going to be in their wallet. It's going to be a placeholder that they're going to have until December 2nd, when the launch of the, the ROI DApp is going to go live. During that time, you're also going to have the opportunity to trade it. There's going to be an internal marketplace here that's written into the pre-sale and to the private sale contracts, that if there's somebody that's interested in purchasing it, you make an offer, you're going to be able to transfer it over and do a transaction with them for that NFT. We don't foresee that a lot of folks would want to pass up and give their position away into the private or pre-sale to another investor, but maybe it's an offer that you can't refuse, as they say, and that you want to come in and buy at launch. So that's an interesting feature that goes with that NFT. So it's a pretty simple process, and we're starting tomorrow the private, and you can come in and go ahead and do that. We're also going to be here to answer any questions, go over some of the details, maybe even walk you folks through, how to view your NFT in your wallet, whether it's Trust or MetaMask, and how that all really comes together. So yeah, that's a really good question. So I wanted to touch on that because it is, something that generally for most folks that haven't been into a pre-sale with an NFT, they're usually used to making a contribution and not really getting, their tokens until launch or anything that's a placeholder. So this is a pretty neat way to go ahead and do that. And there's only one, opportunity to make the investment. I do want to be clear about that. If you invest a minimum 250 and then, maybe a few days later, you think, hey, I want to go ahead and, add another $400 or $500 into it, you're not going to have that opportunity to mint 2 NFTs. So there's only one chance. And once that minting happens, you own that NFT, you've got your placeholder. And when December 2nd comes and we launch, you're going to trade that NFT in through our D app, and you're going to be awarded your equivalent in ARK token. Now, the great thing about it, the way we've done it, is that we're not allowing any of the investors in the private sale or the pre-sale to get those ARK tokens into their wallets. The main purpose of that is that I think, if you've been here for some time, you've seen that a lot of the folks that are in private or pre-sales whitelist positions, after launch, they generally try to dump. And that's not something that we want here. We are here for the long term. We're here for our 2% daily ROI, and sustainability is the name of the game. That's how you stay alive, and that's how you're able to really get your return on investment, grow, and really thrive as the whole investment and community is able to grow. So when you click to get your ARK tokens, it's going to deposit them for you in the ROI dApp. Okay, it's not going to go to your wallet, and from right there, you're going to be able to start, really being accountable and having your ARK token start earning you from that first second. We're also going to do another offering of the NFTs, as well as the possibility to go ahead before launch and purchase your levels of rewards with BUSD, so that when we launch and everything's going, live, if you have folks that are using your referral link and they're under you, and then they're on your team, you're going to be able to start, receiving those rewards immediately. So we're going to get into that a bit later. However, it's important to really understand that for the NFT that's going to be happening tomorrow, you're going to make your deposit, you're going to receive your NFT, and then when it is time to, in a sense, cash it in, you're going to, not get your tokens. You're going to get the tokens deposited under your wallet into the ROI dApp.
So just to clarify, you did touch on it there. Will the legacy NFTs be available from tomorrow as well, or will they be coming further on down the line?
That will be further on down the line before launch. And you'll have the legacy NFTs, and you'll also, if you're not going to buy an NFT, you can also just buy 1 level or 3 or 5, whatever you feel that you want to have available according to how many folks that you're going to be bringing right from the start. And you don't have to purchase many levels right at the beginning, or go for substantial of the 3 NFTs. There's 3 different levels. You have the silver level, you have the gold level, and you have the platinum level. You can also later upgrade to a higher level. So you'll, in a sense, trade it in and pay the difference between one NFT to the higher, more expensive one.
That's great. Thank you very much, Atlas.
Thank you for asking me to clarify a bit more. You see any other questions there, Brad, that we can touch on?
And nothing in the chat as of now that Brett has not already covered, either with responses or he's gone over it already.
Poor Brett's been really busy, not only here, but in SK's Lounge and a couple of other, great communities that have a lot of questions. They want to understand what we're doing here. there's quite a lot of interest, and we're very grateful. We're very appreciative that a lot of folks have taken that initiative to interact with us and learn what we're doing, and make a decision about becoming an investor here and coming on this amazing journey on the ARK with us. So thank you for your hard work, Brett.
Been very busy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So anybody else might have a question? We'd love to hear from you guys.
Can you hear me okay?
If you could speak a little bit louder, is it possible?
Is this any better?
Not much. Let me see if I can turn you up.
Let me switch devices. I'll be back.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Okay, I'm back. Is this any better?
Oh wow, you sound fantastic. Like if you were right here with us.
Wonderful. Well, this
Bit of
is
an echo,
T-Drip.
but we can hear you.
Yeah, this is T-Drip. Thanks for having us. I appreciate you guys coming on and sharing all this information. I'm part of the drip community and various other projects in this space, and pretty impressed by how you guys have really thought through some of the shortcomings in other projects. And I've been talking to my teams about the differences in the tokenomics and how this platform is different from others. But people have PTSD, in this DeFi and BSC space. And I wonder if I could ask you a couple of questions that might just, quash some of the FUD so that our teams can, be more comfortable with it. Would that be okay?
Absolutely. And thank you for being here this evening. Thank you, Mr. T-Drip.
Okay. So my questions here are, have you considered, will the contracts be audited and open sourced? Question one. Question two, when we get to liquidity containment or liquidity management, supplemented by, I'm hearing something like hedge funds or maybe bot trading, will that be transparent to the investors? And question three, I'm sorry if this is a rude question, but Atlas, we've seen a project that was monopoly money that purported to pay out drip, which is widely seen as a ripple, and your your avatar looks just like it. And I wonder if you could speak to your relation, if any, to that project.
Great. Great questions. All right. So look, as far as the contracts, they're going to be audited, of course. It's an absolute necessity. We have to have that done before launch. And we've got, till December 2nd. So we're confident. We have great relationships with CertiK. We're also looking at Hacken as a second option, as, there's a bit of a, sometimes with CertiK, they can tell you a week and it can take, a month or more. So we're looking at the options and, making sure that we even get stuff in writing, because we do not want to delay into, our launch. The contracts are going to be open source, except one, which will be the liquidity controller. That is something that's going to, be audited also by the firms. However, we're going to keep that as IP, and we're going to keep that close to our vest, as we do believe.
That.
Yeah, we do believe that that is a great product that we're going to be able to market to other up and coming projects. So that's, I think, as you say, understandable. That's the only one. Everything else is going to be absolutely open. Our Solidity dev, Mr. Green, he was here just a bit ago. I don't know if you had a chance to hear him, but the man's absolutely a genius and fantastic, and it's got a fantastic reputation of delivering very solid, very safe contracts that are quite unique, and primarily for the ease of the way they're put together. Some of these contracts that you see with 30,000 lines of code, are very confusing, and not that most of us here can read Solidity, but the folks that are coders and maybe they do Java or something else, they can go through a code of Solidity, and if it's too complex, just really be thrown off. There's a lot of repetitive stuff. There's a lot of things that generally you see are copy and pasted. And as long as they work, people don't kind of care to criticize it too much. But we're very proud about that, and we stand behind our contracts. So here with the second question was more about the transparency with the investments that we want to do. There's a couple of protocols that we want to put some liquidity in, as well as some real world investments. And of course, that has to be very transparent. It's serious business. It's not our money. It's all the investors' funds. We have a DAO component that's going to be released after launch. Not immediately, as we have other things that are really priority, like the mobile app. We want to be able to go out there and grow using that mobile application. I think is going to be a game changer. So that's definitely going to be very transparent, as well as a lot of the parameters of our liquidity controller. We're not going to want to really put too much information out there and proceed ourselves to explaining the exact range, as that could really influence the actions, and maybe how folks are going to react or come, and maybe try to front run what might be coming. So we're going to be very careful with that, and as we progress and we want to release information, we will do so in a transparent manner. But there has to be a little bit, I believe, of a very secretive plan to reach certain targets and goals and liquidity before I think that range is really hit. And the third question regarding monopoly, I don't know, money or something that you mentioned, I haven't heard about it. But no, that's not me. I'm not associated with any crypto project or anything with monopoly. I use the avatar of the Monopoly Man. And it's actually coming from a great artist that I collect some of his art, and his name is ARK Monopoly. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but it's great. I have stuff from him here at my home, and I think it's really interesting. One of my favorite is actually of hence the name Atlas. I got one that shows the Monopoly Man holding the world, right? But he's wearing a tuxedo and he's very relaxed. And generally in Greek mythology, Atlas has the weight of the shoulders, right? The weight of the world on his shoulders, and he's pretty stressed. He's crouched over a lot of problems and a lot of responsibility, and that kind of ties into the name Atlas. A lot of folks have told me I should be in a wheelchair for really through my business career, picking people up, putting them over my back, and carrying them across the finish line, because my work ethic is if somebody's not going to pull their weight, you can't just sit idle and let the ship sink, or for the things that have to be completed not get done. You have to actually roll up your sleeves, and you have to do whatever it takes to be able to get to your goal. So that's how it all kind of comes in together. But curious that there was something like that in playing in Drip. And just the name of it, Monopoly, sounds kind of scammy.
Yeah, thank you, Atlas. I appreciate your candor on that. Yes, those of us that were in Drip for a while would be familiar with it. You can Google it. Some folks I've been talking to on my team were asking about that. So you should be aware. But appreciate that. We've been through exploits and drained contracts and trading bots that may or may not exist. And I guess I would just offer that to the extent you can be transparent with the successful investments. I mean, that will just do huge wonders for growing the community.
Absolutely. Great questions. And I hope that you'll spend some more time here with us and learn what we're working on and doing here. And if you'd like to become part of the community here, we'd look forward to it.
Yeah, appreciate it very much. Thanks for taking my questions.
Have a wonderful evening.
Atlas, there is a question, excuse me, in the chat. Are new members going to be required to use a referral link to join, similar to Eternity?
No. Here you're going to have the opportunity to sign up over the top wallet, right directly under it. And the name of that wallet is called the Guardian wallet. So you do not have to have a referral. Also, the same applies to the private sale. If folks don't have a referral from a syndicate founder, which are the first 50 wallets, they're going to be able to leave that blank. And we're going to go into detail, tomorrow about that. That's something that you're not required. However, for the folks in a private sale, if they leave it blank, we're going to assign those investors under one of the syndicate founders so that they have a team and they're able to receive airdrops, which is, one of the great things of these systems, right? So we're going to allocate them randomly to the syndicate founders. And for the public pre-sales, they're not going to be forced to have a referral. They're going to be able to go direct if they want. Now, I do suggest that folks, are able to go and do a little bit of research and find some of these fantastic leaders that we've been able to bring into the project that, have educated their investment communities. They've been very respectful, and, just done a great job with their whole community. So we encourage maybe that they want to join up because they're going to be able to take advantage of getting some great rewards. And all you got to do is look around, who's in this chat, who's in our group, and go on over to their communities and get to know them if you weren't referred already by somebody. And if you were referred by somebody, I definitely suggest to come in here with them. There's fantastic people that we're standing shoulder to shoulder with here.
Great, thank you for answering that.
Thank you, Brad, for bringing that up. Is there anybody else that might have another question? We'd love to hear from you tonight. It's been a nice crowd here. Some great folks showing up that we've never seen or met before. And even some FUD about Monopoly. That was really interesting. So I'll Google that, man.
You need to Google it. There's some YouTube videos. You should check it out.
How long ago was it?
Oh gosh, I think maybe like
Been like a year.
Yeah, a year, 16 months maybe.
Oh wow. Okay. That's around the time I got into DeFi. Go ahead.
I almost forgot about that one. It was very elaborate. It was very well executed.
Yeah, maybe it was less than a year. It might have been more like March or April of 22, but don't quote me on that.
Very, very, very interesting. Great to see you here, Juan, our resident farmer. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Yeah, we got some great folks that we've gotten to meet over here. Is there anybody else that might have a question, guys? Love to go ahead and answer that. Good to see you here, Dr. Marcel. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Aphrodite from Australia. Hope you're having a great morning. Already had a call, a really early call with one of our great investors from Australia this morning. That man's up early. So let's see here. Is there anything else that we want to go over? Brett, is there anything that you might want to talk about for tomorrow with the private sale? Do you think we've covered everything, or anything else that you might think that would be great to go over before we end the recording for this evening? And we'll probably hang out for a little bit after we finish the recording.
Yeah, I think just the general questions are going to be like communication things, like, where do we go? And then rely on the TG group here. All of our admins are going to be up to speed on where to go. If you run into any issues, please let us know as soon as possible so we can get them resolved quickly. And otherwise, it should be a pretty smooth experience. And, once again, it's not a rush. We have 1 week. As long as you're on the list, you have a spot. So that's kind of the message I wanted to put out there. Kind of just seeing that in the different groups, everyone asking sort of the same questions over and over, but they're good ones. What time is it going to be? Where do I need to go? Those kind of things.
Okay. Fantastic. So yeah, I mean, we're going to be here, obviously many hours earlier in the dev, what I call the back room, the sausage room, where the delicious sausage gets made. Everybody wants to eat it. They don't want to know how hard it is to put some of the stuff together, but we absolutely just enjoy the whole process. The result is what we all get to interact with, these fantastic contracts and the user interface. we're doing our best really to put something together that I think can be intuitive and easy to use, and it's important that everything has a really nice professional feel to it. And we plan to even expand and improve it. Also with our mobile app, we're working to make sure that as it comes together, it's extremely intuitive, as we understand that folks that have never used crypto are going to interact with it. And there's always a fear, there's always a bit of a hurdle in learning complex things. I remember the first time that I had a friend teach me how to use MetaMask. Not only was it a bit complex, but intimidating, because I didn't want to make a mistake. And I was told that if you send to the wrong address, you don't get to call the 1-800 number and say, hey, I'm sorry, I sent out a Zelle, right, or a PayPal to the wrong person. There is no return. And that's something that when you take into account what the end user, what their experience is, and how they want to interact with something that's pretty easy to use and connect to your Trust Wallet or your SafePal. There's a lot of work that's going into making it extremely user friendly. So we're going to be releasing the website, I believe, in the next 24 to 48 hours, and we think also the private sale interface is looking pretty nice as well. So we'll be releasing more stuff, and we thank you all for coming and hanging out with us tonight, asking some questions. And if there's anybody else before we go ahead and finish this recording that would like to ask a question, please go right ahead.
Where do babies come from?
Zachworth, how you doing, buddy? You doing all right?
All good. Can't wait.
Absolutely. I owe you a DM as well. So we got plenty of time, guys. That's one of the great things that I think in our schedule was to give the private a full week till next Friday. So as we get everything together and organized, we've already uploaded into the contracts the first set of whitelist. That's already been taken care of this evening. It's live. It's all functioning perfectly. So we look forward to continuing with that work tomorrow from really early. So with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and finish this recording. I want to thank all of you for being here, participating with us. Those that asked the questions, thank you very much. And we will be back tomorrow with the private sale, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. UTC. And we'll be back in the evening also for another edition of the daily live stream here of the ARK Podcast. Have a good night, everyone.